In the last video of the Truman's Decision series, we went through the options available to President Truman and the United States in their effort to end World War II as quickly as possible. Now we will be discussing the design, preparations, and delivery of Little Boy and Fat Man, the atomic bombs used against Japan on August 6th and August 9th, 1945. During the Target Committee meetings, which we last spoke about in Episode 2, various Japanese cities were introduced as possible targets, including Kyoto, Hiroshima, and Kokura. At the behest of Secretary of War Henry Stimson, Kyoto was removed from consideration and the list was finalized on July 25, 1945. Hiroshima and Kokura were chosen as the final targets for the attacks. According to the notes from the May 10th and 11th Target Committee meetings, Hiroshima was deemed an important army depot and port in the middle of an urban industrial area. Those in attendance made special mention of the hills adjacent to the city, which they thought could produce a focusing effect and increase the damage caused by the weapon. Kokura was elevated as a target due to it being home to one of the largest arsenals in Japan. To ensure that the theoretical atomic bomb would work, the Manhattan Project scientists knew that two subcritical masses of nuclear fuel needed to collide at just the right time to cause them to go supercritical. Because uranium-235 and plutonium-239 behaved differently, the scientists had to design two different mechanisms to achieve their goal. The gun-type method designed for Little Boy used refined uranium-235 produced at Clinton Engineer Works in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. The mechanism shot one bullet-shaped mass of uranium-235 into another piece of uranium-235 to form a supercritical mass and explode. Little Boy was intended to be dropped on Hiroshima. The implosion method, on the other hand, used plutonium-239 created by Hanford Engineer Works in Washington State, and was featured in both Gadget and Fat Man. A minor impurity in the plutonium-239 prevented it from reacting as needed for the gun-type method. Thus, the implosion method was devised. This method involved a TNT shell made of a series of explosive lenses that were fired all at once to compress the plutonium-239 core, reach supercritical mass, and explode. While Gadget was the device detonated for Trinity, which was the first atomic bomb test that occurred in the New Mexico desert on July 16, 1945, Fat Man was meant for Kokura. The U.S. began shipping the components to Tinian in the northern Mariana Islands, which was captured in August 1944. The island would be the launching point for the atomic bomb attacks against Japan. Work began on the assembly of Little Boy once the last batch of pieces arrived on July 29th. On August 4th, 2 days after the U.S. began assembling the Fat Man device on Tinian, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Tibbets briefed the 509th Composite Group, the unit tasked with deploying nuclear weapons, ahead of the planned strike. On August 6th, Tibbets and Enola Gay delivered the first bomb to Hiroshima, while the boxcar piloted by Major Charles Sweeney delivered the second to Nagasaki due to poor visibility over the city of Kokura on the morning of August 9th. Nagasaki was selected as a last-minute replacement, even though it was not the next immediate target on the list, because it was only 95 miles south of Kokura. In the next video, we will be analyzing the initial and lasting impacts of the atomic bombs had on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, as well as the Japanese people living in these cities. We will also be exploring the outcome and legacy of the attacks. Locate Tinian on a map. Using what you know about World War II, what made the island an asset to the Allied powers after they captured it in 1944? On your own, research the story behind Stimson's request that Kyoto be spared. What is significant about Kyoto, and what were the reasons he used to argue against bombing the city?